So maybe because we have to make sure that our guests very far are kept actually the first panelist, because I believe you are the most youngest compared to other panelists. Am I correct? Okay. Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, so actually you're given, all of you, actually 4 minutes each of you. So the first question is about young youth programs, that actually I do believe that in your experiences you have a kind of seminars, forum, workshop related on this part. But what you are looking to this kind of new young bloods, actually, as we are focused on the institutional leadership, maybe you can more highlight to the higher institutions. Please.
Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Fadil. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for your kind introduction. And of course, as mentioned, the youngest, but must put it in a more, I would say, fruitful flying off from ACAP to be here with the UTM group. I am most privileged to be here, to be on stage with Datuk Nazri as well as Professor Emeritus Dr. Darus. I believe I may not be able to share as much experience as they have, like in my context of institutional leadership, going back to my career climb at UITM Shah Alam. I started in 2000. I reported duty on the 1st of August 2000. On the 2nd of August, I was already appointed as a representative, or what we call the faculty rep at UITM, to take charge of a faculty that was really alien to me. Coming from a background of language and linguistics, I was put at the Faculty of Hotel and Management to run and to ensure lecturers who have been way back in the system, super seniors, to handle their timetable, to handle a lot of student matters, and etc. So that was really a beginning for me to really realize that this whole rigor of higher education is very unique. Especially when we talk about institutional leadership, none of us walk into the university gate or university door thinking that one day we will be holding a position. So this is where the challenge is for a lot of new or young lecturers when they enter university. Right now, as we see the demographic change of the generation, as we discussed before coming in this morning, we see now that the workforce is more of those who are Y, and also they call the millennials, coming into the workforce. So this institutional leadership may not be one area that is popular in higher education, because as we see, many when they come in, the ultimate is on academic leadership. So to respond to the question by the moderator in terms of having youth program and mentoring program as such that UTM Lead has now kick-started with the team at UTM, I think it's really, I believe it's really a fruitful journey for a lot of young academics. And looking back into the whole process that's happening at ACAP, if I may share the experience, is we try to balance between the two, academic leadership as well as institutional leadership. So as much as we believe that we want our academics to hold position, to hold administrative duties, but we cannot leave behind the academic leadership. So in the nature of having ACAP to champion and to hold the fort in terms of putting up a structured framework, what we call a competency-based talent management, focusing on institutional leadership. Along the journey, we realized the uniqueness of higher education is that there has to be a balance between academic leadership, AL, and institutional leadership, IL. We tried in our journey to promote and put up people who have got many years of experience holding position in terms of administrative posts at the higher education. Somehow or other, when we presented, it will still come back to that academic ecosystem. So the nature of having the AL and IL balance is very critical, and especially what more we have the young academics today, we need to make this a realization to them to understand that being an academic leader means you belong as a public intellectual. Going into institutional leadership, meaning you hold positions, administrative positions, to help build the university. And like what Datuk Nazri mentioned, succession planning is ultimate, because in the higher education, we have never seen succession planning as a serious business, because academics don't believe in succession planning, because we are all worried about getting our doctorate, our associate professors, our professor going up. We have Professor Emeritus, Professor Ulung dan sebagainya, because we see that is more promising rather than going on the institutional leadership career track. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, because if I may share my little experience, like myself, this is going to be my 18th year with UITM. Looking back in my career climb, of the 18 years, 12 years, I've been holding a lot of different positions, and that has taken me a little bit distracted from the academic climb. So this is where the worry is. In fact, when we talk about institutional leadership, as much as we want to push for our academics who are highly potential to hold positions in the university, we must also ensure that their academic climb in terms of the academic leadership is also stable and consistent. Yeah? So this is where the succession planning can take place, because eventually, when talking about what is now the concept of leadership in higher education, it's always about the balance between AL and IL. Even if we have people who are prominent to go on the IL, but the AL is not promising, kadang-kadang orang-orang macam ni pun dia di-sideline-kan. Ya? So these are the areas that we may have to also work together in terms of the differentiated career pathway, DCP, as now being revised and reviewed in terms of our blueprint. But this would be some of the challenges maybe all 20 public universities will face when we talk about DCP, because I remember back when DCP was being highlighted, a lot of people highlighted kalau dia naik Profesor Madya atau dia naik Profesor, takkan kita nak kata dia Profesor Pentadbiran. Kerana the word Professor itself gives a definition, you have to profess in your area or your specialization. So how do we strike a balance with having this conventional definition of professor to what we want to now introduce, the differentiated career pathway, whereby kita ada 4 tracks if you go by the playbook. Yeah? Kita ada the teaching learning, we have the research, we have the professional, and we have the institutional leaders. But when we did a little bit of research and a very small scale survey, we realized those who try to be promoted on the professorship track, they go by virtue of, by default, ya. Dia pegang jawatan, so they go on institutional leadership career track. Dia masuk for interview, the first question that still comes to the academic is research grant, publication, and how many students you have supervised. So this is the reality that at ACAP, we do not want to take away from the higher education, because this is what higher education ecosystem is all about. It is about being a public intellectual in your area, and along the way, with the vast experience of holding the various or the diverse portfolios at the university, you will then leap into the institutional leadership. Kerana biasanya dalam IL track ni tak ramai. We don't need so many. Looking at the country nationwide pun, kita cuma ada 136 positions that are the top 7 of the universities. Maknanya going from NCs, TNCs, registrar and bursar. Okay, and with plus minus a little bit of DG and deputy DG at the ministry level. So the overall landscape, we only have about 136 positions. Kalau kita shadowkan 3 nama pun for each name or each position, it will take plus minus about 480 to 500 talent pool that we require. So that's where at ACAP we try to build what we call a national top talent pool, comprising professors from the 20 public universities, so that we will have sufficient talent in terms of institutional leadership, because we have total academics in the whole system is 34,000 of the whole country, yeah? Taking into consideration we have polytechnics, college community, and also the 20 public universities. So from the 34,000, kalau kita nak ambil only about 500 really highly potential institutional leaders, that means the scouting may not be so challenging, because it's only a small number out of the 34,000. Tapi coming back to that, bila kata scouting tu pula, scouting tu lah sebenarnya yang sepatutnya kita rasa is not a challenge, it's a real challenge in the university ecosystem because everybody wants to go for academic leadership. Tak ramai sebenarnya yang pergi for institutional leadership because like I mentioned just now, the track of IL may not be promising for many. Yeah, so I'll put a stop to that for a while to give maybe some platform to the rest. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ismi. Actually, that will be very good question to the next panelist. Actually, when you said about the balance between this kind of career path as well of the institutional leadership, I believe that Prof. Dato' Ahmad Darus will be the best panelist to speak out on that kind of positions. Please, Dato'.
Okay, terima kasih, moderator. Thank you very much. Okay, my response to the issue raised is that whether we agree or not, when you are a manager or when you manage something, you have to be a manager. So a leader must be also a good manager as well. Yeah, you have to manage because you have to work within a certain constraint, condition, and so on. But to make a university successful, you need a very good leader. I'm not referring only to the IL, because you need a very good leader to get a very good faculty, a very good school, very good faculty or lecturers. Yeah? Okay, definitely you need a very good and effective IL to make sure that all the top researchers in university, all the top teachers in university get the required support. Okay, and to that, the IL has to actually fully understand the system or the academic system in university. Okay, as far as the department chairs, the dean and the UTM, they have changed the system, so I'm not very well. So we have got the dean, and then we have got the chairs, and then we have got the program here, and so on. But all this, actually, whatever you do at this different level, are actually training you to be later on, maybe one or two, to be the IL. Okay, and there has been quite a good discussion also in overseas whether the IL has to be from the academic. Okay, there are also some IL or the president who are non-academic. But the danger is that sometimes they tend to make it like or operate the academic institution as a business entity, which is something which I think most professors are not that keen, because by doing that, sometimes you can dilute the quality of the academic aspect, teaching, research, and so on, service, and so on. So the experience gained by, we have got our young lecturers now, okay, yeah, and they are fortunate that you have got all these programs that when we were in the system before, as Datuk Nazri mentioned earlier, you have to take the responsibility given to you and make sure that you come out good, okay? But I look at that as an opportunity for you to actually learn all the good experience, and then later on, okay, be a good leader, so that by being a good department chair, by being a good dean, you can actually help create a lot more top researchers, top teachers. That is what I think we need from a good the dean or a good AL, academic leader. Okay, but the issue that, if I can actually extend a bit, is that sometimes our young staff are not that keen, because I was involved, maybe Datuk Nazri also was involved, and when we try to pick up or choose candidate for even head of department or the program coordinator now, sometimes people are very reluctant. Okay, they run away from being appointed. To me, if you are appointed, mean you have been given a trust. If a good challenge is to take the trust given and then make sure that you deliver. So all those difficulties that you may face throughout those years that you have been appointed, it's a good learning program for you later on. Yeah? You want to be a good leader in research. If you are not a good leader or a poor leader, you can't expect to get more researchers under you. There have been top researchers, but who just care for his or her own areas. Okay, they are, because they are not actually leaders, because they don't actually go through the proper training or experience. So sometimes they just think that I am a leader to my own area, but you are actually leading a department, you are leading maybe a research group. So make sure that everybody get the same facilities, same support. But these are some of the learning that you have to actually obtain if you want to be either academic leader or IL. Yeah? I believe it is very, very important for a young lecturer. Now you have been given all this training by UTM lead to grab all the opportunity and then enjoy as much as you can in this program, and whatever that you are being assigned to, okay, whether it's a committee member or department chair or course one and so on, do it with passion, okay, because there have been a lot of papers also written by the professor OC, especially American, okay. There's one from AAUP, maybe Professor Ulong know him, the American Social University professor. But you have to be patient in your work. Research, you have to be patient. Teaching, as well as when you are the dean, you have to be patient. If not, you will find it a lot of trouble. You feel it so stressful. No? When you enjoy being the dean or the chairman chair, you will make the rest of all those who are under you feel very, very excited because they will get the support. Yeah? Because this is very important. Yeah? So the staff need the support from the head or the leader, and definitely the leader needs support also from the top leader. University top management will have to be given the same support to the various levels. Yeah? Okay, so the important or the relationship between AL, IL is, to me, is very, very complementing. You have to have a good AL, okay, to make sure that the IL can perform to his best or her best to make sure that the university actually progress. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dato'. I think we already covered some of the importance in order to make sure that we understand between the IL and also the AL. So many of us is actually, Dato', even some of us are very new in the systems. So they are maybe skewed from that kind of perspective. Sometimes they say that the AL is actually the IL for themselves. So this is a very headache job to Dato' Nazri actually. How you make sure that this will be happen in the next few years, as well as we already have our Envision 2025. So we already asked actually during that kind of session, I think Dato' also in the session, we asked them, what do you think the university should be look like for the next 20 years, for example, right? Do you need the VC or you need the CEO to operate, something like that? So you have to make sure the audience is actually understand what exactly the rules and the kind of functions about this AL and also the IL.
Thanks, Dr. Fadil. Right, before I go to why is AL, I know people will say, oh, why is AL, why is IL? Because we are so used that that we thought sometimes we thought everybody knows about it, But the definition that we have is that AL is about academic leadership. It's a training, like that Dato' said just now, is more towards you're basically managing things. You're trained to become a leader, future leaders. And then institutional leadership, if we just want to make a simple definition, is basically says the task of the deputy VCs and above, deputy VC and the VC. Am I right? I say, okay. Okay, in top position holders. And then the rest are basically academic leaders. I mean, from the director, the deputy dean, basically with academic leaders. But the most important thing here, Dato did highlight one thing just now about reluctance. You know, I always say this to argue this with Dr. Ismi very much when I'm in our cabinet. We talk about how to solve this issue of reluctant leaders. A lot of people, I think, are trapped with this. I can say trapped, including Dr. Ismi, I think. Trapped in this management or leadership tracks, things, or if you want to say tracks. But then I would say sometimes it's fated for us. You know, we thought we don't want, and then after a while you take a rest, and then you've been appointed again, and then reappointed at a position. So I said, so why me? You sometimes you say, why me? Don't you have other people to appoint? You know, but just take it. Like that, I must say, you have to take it the responsibility, do it as best as possible. That's the best thing. The rest is basically let up there decide whether you will get promoted or not. It's not as long as you do it with your heart, you know, do it as best as possible. That's the best thing. And then the other thing I just like to highlight is that if you see now the leaders, or even the academic leaders also getting younger and younger, you know? Even the presidents also, it's okay to say younger, except for one country. I hope you know. The president is also getting younger and younger. And that the Vice Chancellor, I think we have a very young Vice Chancellor, and also the Deputy Vice Chancellor also is young. So this is a challenge for all of you, really. There's take it as opportunity. Although to be frank, sometimes I'm quite skeptical. You know, sometimes wisdom always comes with age. You know, so sometimes you pick young leaders. So does this leader have that wisdom? Because wisdom comes with age, with experience, things like that. You know, wisdom is very important in leadership. Sometimes you have to make decisions which are not in the book. You have to make that very hard decision. People don't like you. You have to basically, but you need to make that decision to make sure that the university stay on course with the vision and mission that they basically stated. This is very, very important. So this judgment about decision only comes with experience and, of course, wisdom. We try as much as possible to make everybody happy, but you know, if you have 1,700 academic staff in UTM, I'm quite sure there will be a portion will not be able. We try to entertain as much as possible. I always say, Dr. NC always remind me, you know, he like to every problem he'll pass sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes he'll pass it to me to solve the problem. So. And then the other thing is that we have to accept that things change, everything changes. The way that we lead the university in 1980s, 1990s, and so on is different than future. The next 20 years will be different. Probably you don't have an NC. Next 20, I don't know. Because everything is being set and so on, and then all need to run. You have a set of leaders, academic leaders section within the universities. You don't need to have the top leaders future. That's a possibility there. But like I said, you have to accept this change. That's why we in 2010, when we developed PGU 3, yeah? And then this go to 3 phases already until 2020. The next year will be the last phase, last year of the phases, is that we predict the change, and then we always also assess the risk. Every year assess the risk. The the importance of we have Prof. Shahrin and the team looking at risk every day, every time, you know. Every decision that we make do have a risk and so on. So, and then with 2025, we are not sure what's going to happen, whether RU is still there, if there is a move or change that the status of the university from RU to something else, then we have to basically adopt and adapt. Adaptation is something that we must be, we must have in ourselves. We have to basically believe that we can do it and then adapt as time goes on. We work, and I always believe we work in an organization. Although some, if the organization states that this is the vision and mission of the organization, then we need to work towards those vision and mission of the university. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dato'. So this is the first round, actually. So for the second round, actually, I tried to conclude with the third round as well, because we don't have time to make it on the tracks, because this is what we call that the flexibility of this forum should be. And another one, this is what we've been said by our panelists to us. Now we are maybe some things we know what's the patients should be included in our daily life, routine works especially. How to motivate you, because you are actually in the academic line. I'm not so sure whether you will go to somewhere else. Like some of the panelists says that maybe you become as a businessman soon or later. Another one is about you are in the trap era, moderns. Nowadays, like Dato' Nazri says that nowadays more leaders is coming from the very young and very enthusiasm maybe, but less wisdom, something like that. So this is a great challenge, right? So this is actually will turn up to our second round. What we are actually looking and how we try to penetrate this kind of issue to ensure that we actually now already having this framework. Not only maybe 20 years, but we actually now starting to think like the young one, even you are very old. Not old lah, actually is in a senior. You have this experience, right? You know what exactly the past is over. Your what you've been through since maybe 20 years or 30 years. Now in future is more challenge. So the challenge now to maybe to ACAP some things. Do we have a kind of policy, a blueprint, something we want to make sure that this is our next future leaders that we want to be?
This is, I must say, a very challenging question, and from the perspective of my respective portfolio at ACAP, I think we work very closely, especially Dato' Nazri is really our wisdom group, yeah, to take and to put into perspective. Sometimes when the young ones, I still consider myself in the age group whereby I do not belong to the baby boomers, and I am not with the Y generation, because I was born in the year of the Gen X, yeah. So Gen X ni, we're very much influenced by the baby boomers, yeah. And as much, we are very adaptive. We can also make ourselves workable with those who are in Gen Y and also the millennials. So the Gen X ni sebenarnya is actually a very privileged group, yeah. And to come back to that context of the role of ACAP, agree very much, Dr. Fadil. It is a real challenge right now, especially the portfolio that I have, which is the profiling portfolio, is the least popular. To take from Prof. Emeritus Datuk Darus and also Datuk Nazri, betul. It is happening right now, and I think it has been inherited in our education ecosystem. Bila dijemput untuk profiling and they know it is for position, the first thing they walk into the assessment center, they will just say, saya tidak berminat untuk memegang jawatan. Ya? Tetapi these are the ones who are already handpicked and selected by the university. Maknanya these are the people that we hope will build the national top talent for the country, especially for public universities, because now as we see, the mobility of talent is happening. We have talents crossing from one university going to the other. So ACAP has got a very huge role here to ensure that we put all the 20 public universities professors or those who are already sniffed and identified by the university to be put in what we call a national top talent pool that is being measured on a similar platform, because we cannot then focus UTM ada DNA dia, UITM ada DNA dia, UTM ada DNA dia dan sebagainya, kerana we feel that this national top talent pool has got to be people of the same level because of the trend that we see right now on the mobility of talent. This is where we see if universities do not prepare their successors for positions dekan ke atas lah, especially deans, then going up deputy VCs and then VCs, registrar and bursar, we may lose the seats. Lose the seats not just to probably among university partners, but more to probably open up to industry partners. And these are the only seats that we have for our academic. And mind you, we have a lot of professors who have gone through that vast experience. Takkan kita tak boleh dapat 500 top talent to hold the fort for us for that 136 positions in the university. So my little experience, if I may speak on this platform, is that the succession planning, taking back from what Dr. Nazri mentioned in the opening, is already a very critical factor for the university, because as much as we believe that there are future challenges about income generation, financial sustainability for universities, and also having to handle the demographic change of the university, but is it all right for us to leave and to give away our seats, we say, to external parties who are industry partners especially, because we do have our talents who are in the ecosystem. And this is the ecosystem where we have to seriously build and groom, and I believe in UTM, organizations or units like UTM Lead play a very critical role to ensure that this group of talents coming from probably people who are 40 above, because kita rasa bila people 40 above tu, they probably have landed themselves into the associate professorship. So mungkin untuk pergi kepada professorship tu dah tak berapa susah berbanding dengan mereka yang mungkin masih di grade 45, 51, 52 dan sebagainya, ya. So this is a group of people that we need to already leverage if we see that they have potential for the institutional leadership, and to take the roles and responsibilities like what Datuk Darus mentioned tadi tu. You have to play your role to give back to the university. Maknanya when you are assigned, when you are appointed for a certain task, for a certain portfolio, tak boleh question university dah. Kenapakah saya, ya? Kenapalah malangnya nasib saya dilantik. Dulu masa saya muda memang saya berfikir macam tu. Tetapi itulah rahsianya about institutional leadership. It is a journey whereby no book can tell you how to make decisions. No book can tell you how to handle and manage people. It is only by doing and by going through that experience. Dan kalau kita baca buku John Maxwell dan sebagainya, kita tengok, ya, Kotter, leadership model dan sebagainya, dia balik-balik dia akan come back to you have to be passionate about your job. When you are a leader, you have to be passionate. So everything is on the same platform, whether you are doing it for a purpose of academic leadership or institutional leadership, the ingredients are the same. You still have got to be passionate about your job. You have to be committed. Sometimes when you are an IL person, you have to spend additional hours for the university. But along the way, when it comes back or when you try to put that back on the promotion level, like what Datuk Nazim mentioned just now, everything will fall into place without you having to realize that and worry about. When the time comes, the strike for you to go for promotion will happen gracefully for you. So this is where we see in the future at ACAP, we try to leverage on what we call a competency-based talent management, or in short we call it CBTM. Tetapi looking at what is happening in the current situation, we have now rebranded to what we call competency values-based talent management, because we want leaders who have got values. Leaders who believe that when they hold position, they play the servanthood for their community. Bila kita kata the word servanthood tu, kadang-kadang dia ada negative impact pula, ya Datuk. Dia kata jadi servant pula, ya. Tetapi this is what we say a jargon in leadership. When you say you are a leader of servanthood, that means you are ready to serve your community. There is no personal interest on your side. You want to see people develop, you want to see the university grow, and you want to ensure that there is always a continuous ecosystem for the institution so that the institution can sustain and the institution can also achieve excellence. So this is where the track of institutional leadership is getting very crucial. As we see, we have highly talented people among the academics. They are highly potential for institutional leadership kerana we see them climb from deputy dean going to deans, from deans going to become directors, then they are seconded to ministry dan sebagainya, then they come back to the university, and at the end of the day we see these are the people. Besides climbing the AL, this is where the wisdom of their experience is very critical, yeah, to contribute to the university to build that IL ecosystem. So the IL ecosystem, as much as I mentioned in my opening, is the least popular among academics, but on a personal note, it is something that is seriously an area that all 20 public universities need to take into their due attention, because otherwise, coming back to my problem statement, we are going to lose these seats that we have reserved for our academics to external parties. When I say external parties, are people outside of the academic ecosystem. Yeah, so that generally would be a role from, I would speak on the role of ACAP, where I agree very much it's becoming a real challenge, because we have people who come in, they are reluctant leaders. But along the way, we say somebody has to do the job. Somebody has to do the job. Otherwise, the university, walaupun as much people kata can be automated, we may not need vice chancellors in the future, but looking back, we still need a leader in an organisation, because if we do not have one captain to run and to direct us where we go, then all of us, the masses kat bawah ni, kalau UTM ada 1,700, UITM has got 9,200 lecturers. So 36 campuses. Macam mana kita nak make sure everybody is aligned? Yeah, so I believe as very in terms of governance, the key positions of universities will still be relevant, whether we are 10 years or 20 years in the future, because we need a leader to lead the way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. So that exactly supposed to be like, the question is, why me being chosen? Why not me, right? The question should be asked again to the individual that they actually should lead that kind of the programs, as well as to not only for themselves, this is also for the institutions and also for nation as well. So I do believe that this is a good questions to Dato' Ahmad Darus actually, on the part of when we want to become as a very great positions in somewhere in our universities, for example. We also have our passion to become as something like we want to influence others to become the very great leaders in the futures. So since you have the experience, I do believe not only in the faculty, not only in the departments, you also serve to any other task force, any other committees out there. What do you think about these kind of things, Dato'?
Okay, I would like to maybe repeat what I said earlier. See, whatever that we go through during our learning process is something that we inherit later on, when we actually either we are promoted or given the opportunity to lead a union, a section, or maybe later on a faculty. So, to me, maybe the reason why young staff shy away from being appointed and so on is one of the reasons, I think, is because the system before that in the 70s, there were a lot more, I would say, the soft side factors when we actually assess for promotion. Okay, I mean, beside the research, there are also the other aspect that the university or the administrator actually use to considered to complement the candidate, whether they should be promoted and so on. Because if you are the Deputy Vice Chancellor, for instance, definitely you can't expect the same criteria to be applied or that you apply to the full-time researcher. You can't, because when he or she is a Deputy Vice Chancellor, there has to be the same, I would say, weighting given to what he has done, because a Vice Chancellor role is to get maybe 10 more professors like the one that we had. Okay, that's his role, which is a lot more challenging, need more wise and decision to do or to make, and the effect of what he does, although to some it's just very easy, being a vice chancellor or maybe a dean, okay, but the amount of work that he has to put in, the amount of work that he has to actually forgo his own interest. Sometimes people don't actually see, So that's why in one of the paper by the American University professors, I like that group because they are very, very, they fight for the professors, for the faculty, okay? They are thinking about trying to develop incentive and compensation for administrators, because you expect our young lecturers to be ready later on, to be willing to accept this responsibility, then there has to be also some compensation given. It is not meant to say, okay, those who cannot teach, lead, or no, sometimes people used to say that, okay, those who are not fit to teach, then be a leader, which is not true. Okay, a leader is a good teacher, a good researcher, because you have to know what you need, then only you can provide the support for the researcher, for the teacher, and so on. So, back to what I said earlier, the compensation or some form of incentive must be given if you expect our brilliant staff to be willing to maybe spend some of the time to lead a faculty or a university. That has to be given. Okay, I don't know whether I kept. It is not actually something that I say macam kita bagi handicap. No, it is not that form of handicap. But you have to recognize that what he does is a lot more than what the researcher done for that particular, for instance, during a span of time. Yeah? So if that is given some consideration, I'm sure our young staff are brilliant, top researchers, top teachers. They are willing to, because they know what they have done, what they have contributed. Okay, it's a form of sacrifice to them. Yeah? There has been, I did mention earlier in one of the earlier sessions, that some, even former dean, MIT, I think, because when they go back to being in the faculty again, so they have to compete against young, very talented researchers and so on, they can't. Okay, so these people might be losing unless some compensation or incentive are given for whatever they have done during their span as a vice chancellor, president, or the dean, or the chair. Because during that period, maybe 20 professors has been promoted, and that actually is very, very important for the country, for the university. So that sort of consideration has to be given. If not, then we cannot force our young staff who are very, very motivated to do research, to be a good teacher, to be, spending their time as, in our track, because once they're in that track, I think, they have to be there. But the position up there is very limited, as Notice was saying. So, but there has to be, if you have got the experience leading and organizing a unit, I think that experience can be used for other activities or job as required. Yeah? So the what I am proposing, like we want to actually try to solve this issue. This issue is not only faced by Malaysia, so also in the US. Once the baby boomers are gone, I mean, they are no longer active, okay? So you have got the later generation who are, the percentage of those who are willing to be leaders or administrators is very, very small. Even in US, because of the criteria used so far in promoting, okay? But if we look at soccer, because I think everybody watch Premier League UK, during the era of Maradona, I think the number of goals scored will value a player, whether 1 million or whatever. But now they have got a lot more criteria that they use to value a player. If that is the only key that they use, then everybody want to score. Who want to be the goalkeeper? Who want to be the midfielder? Who want to be the fullback? But now they come up with a very, very clear indicator that span the whole players. How many intercepts that you make for the midfielders? How many passes that you make for the fullback? How many good kick that you make by the goalkeeper? That will also value or give the club the guideline how to value the player. This has been done by the people in sport, soccer. I think we in the academy, I think we should be able, okay, and maybe the DCP is one way forward towards that, because we have to have certain criteria for certain role played by the member of our organization, be it the vice chancellor or the dean or maybe the head of department. There has to be some, and I believe the 4-track DCP is one way forward. I also believe that it can still be further improved, So maybe that is my take on that, Mr. Moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dato'. Again, I think to Dato' Nazri anyway, a few words from you, short and sweet.
Since we have passed the time, short and sweet. One is that just a few takes here. One is that we have to accept that in our life sometimes, that if you are reluctant leaders, take the responsibility as best as you can. Although, then I believe one day that Allah SWT will reward you if you do it the best. Don't worry, because you're being appointed. When you are being appointed, I believe the top management sees something good in you, or something. There must be something good in you, and if you take it as it is, do it as best as you can, I believe that as long your career path somewhere, I think you will have that positive in it. And then the second thing is about adaptability. We have to adapt and change now. Things change very quickly. During those things change, the leadership also changed very quickly. So we have to adapt and adopt quickly. So that's something that we must do. I know sometimes it hurts you because you think you want to do this way, and then suddenly the university says, no, you must go, you must shift a little bit. You must be able to adapt that change of the university vision. We work in an organization, believe that we work in an organization, and then we should basically abide to the vision and mission of the organization. We cannot be having, macam apa nama dia, Dr. Ismail kata ada beberapa ketua kapal ke dalam satu kapal, then we have problems with the leadership. So, and then the third thing is that always remember that there's a Greek philosopher katakan, dia kata change is the only constant in life, kan. So nak tak nak kita kena percaya bahawa we have to basically do adapt to that change and work as long. InsyaAllah ke depan itu Allah SWT akan bagi kita whatever reward that we will have. Thank you very much. sebab masa tak ada.
Thank you, Dato'. Oh, the audience.
Thank you very much, Prof. Ulung Haris, for the feedback. Yeah, I consider that as one of what we call constructive feedback. And coming back to my opening, as I mentioned, it will tango with what Prof. Haris has just mentioned. That's why institutional leadership is always the least important, because we never see it as a serious, or rather we see it as a promising future for our academics. That is why, very true, when we talk about universities abroad, of course succession planning is never their forte, because they believe academics have to be truly academic, and they have to rise in terms of their research, in terms of their publication. As we have platforms like this, it's a lot of about agreeing to disagree, yeah, in a lot of manner. And what Prof. Haris mentioned, memang there is truth in it. And that's where the leadership dilemma is happening in our higher education in due respect of our public universities. And I come back to that point of not responding in terms of that governance, but in terms of throwing back a question for everybody to reflect, yeah, especially to all the young minds that we have here, whether we are okay. If we believe that the key positions of the university need not be among the academics, because the academic has got a different kind of responsibilities. We are dedicated to our students graduate employability, to our students' excellence, to our students' thinking and all that. Are we ready at the end of the day to open these positions and let others run the university? And when we say others run the university, we may now open it to people who are not from the university. Because we see this as happening right now. University Malaysia Pahang is the first university that has advertised for the VC-ship, Prof. Maksudnya, the kementerian is already taking this action. Maknanya kita dah tak nak sniff dah among the academics. UMP is the first university in Malaysia that has opened up the Vice-Chancellor position to others, and Alhamdulillah, memang ada respon daripada luar, dan pada akhirnya, again, for food for thought for all of us, if we are okay, we are able to accept the change, and we believe that academics should solely work on research, publication, and climb that leadership. Because at the end of the day, the bottom line is about financial sustainability of the university, so we don't want our academics to be running around, cari duit, at the same time they come back and dia mengajar, dia buat research dan dia publish. So this is what we expect and what we wish for. We can put this in our wish list and see whether in the future we are all right when we leave these seats to external party rather than sniffing among our academics who we feel have talent. I think Prof. Haris coming from UM has set the precedence. The VC of UM is an external party, as much as the person was from a private university, but all his journey or his vast experience has come from the industry. So is that bringing a leap change to UM? So ini juga another question that all of us would like to take food for thought, yeah? Because when we talk about institutional leadership, agree very much, Prof. Haris, ni memang satu area atau track yang it's never preferred lah, yeah, among academics. Kerana bila kita tak memberi tumpuan, that is where kita terpaksa appoint, we terpaksa select, and we terpaksa sniff from the pool that we have. Yeah, otherwise, again, back to the question, betul ke we do not need a VC, a DVC in the future to run the university? If the university can be automated in that manner, dan mungkin alhamdulillah lah, banyaklah mungkin funding university yang kita boleh save. Jadi Mendahari dah tak payah worry pula emolument hanya 10 bulan, 11 bulan for the year kan, because at least we have saved a lot in terms of the key position. So again, food for thought for the young ones. We may not have the answer today. We may not have the answer today because at the end of the day, things keep changing, and how we adapt to the changes, that is most important for us, in order for us to ensure that the future of higher education is going to have a stable ecosystem, and to ensure that our university will excel in the future. And if we believe that it is not the job of the VC to with the team to push and to drive the agenda of excellence for the university, it is the duty of all of us, the academic ecosystem. If UTM ada 1,700 orang, jadi inilah 1,700 orang harapan universiti. So 1,700 orang ni kena bergerak seiring ke, nak letak one person kat depan ke, ataupun nak 1,700 orang ini bergerak berpimpinan tangan dalam satu straight row. So that is also another question for all of us to take home and reflect. And like I say again, being among the most junior on stage today, we may not have the answer in terms of what's going to be the leadership ecosystem in the future, but the university has to seriously look into it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much again to our panelists. So I'm so sorry I have to stop now because the time is very limited to us. So anyway, those actually having some further questions you may ask directly to the panelists. Actually, they are so very open-minded as well as to Prof. Haris anyway. So actually to us, I try to make sure that everybody is on the what exactly we are discussing for today. Today morning is very important for you to know, to understand that there is some kind of definition and gray area that actually maybe some of us actually miss on that kind of track. So as well as the UTM lead is actually focused towards to the empowerment. So that's the reason why we're having this kind of forum today. So we do hope that this is the opening to all of us, because we have another session after this break and also the afternoon session. So this is become as a warm breaker for you lah anyway. So thank you very much again to all the panelists. So the big claps to the panelists anyway.